Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Feeling Seen, the podcast that talks about the movies and the characters that make us feel seen. And my co-host today, as I just told her right before we started, is a pop culture legend in our time. And you would know her from if you didn't know her, you weren't alive, from the show Magicians when it was airing, and the movie Touch Me that is rolling out now for you to see, and other independent treasures like She Dies Tomorrow, of which I conducted a COVID-era Q&A. Olivia Taylor Dudley that you were a part of. I think you were broadcasting from the inside of your car.
I was.
At
we were
a drive-in screening.
That was an amazing Q&A.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
It was, I mean, I think
Iconic.
it was right at the beginning of when it was like, I guess we're doing virtual Q&A events.
Yeah.
It was like the beginning of there was like 9 people on that. Donald Glover Zoom bombed at one point.
I know, he bombed in. It was great.
There was the extended conversation of dolphin sex, and it was lawless, and it was a lot of fun.
It was so fun. I know. It's kind of hard for movies that came out during that time to have had any kind of release, so I felt really lucky that Amy's movie got to have something like that.
Yeah, no kidding. And so the traditional question, what else do the people need to know about you before we get started, besides independent film entrepreneur, I suppose, producer, actor? Do you do writing as well?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm writing something right now that I hope to direct. So, yeah, I produce a lot of the movies I work on, which has been a really nice way to be involved. I just love filmmaking from all aspects. Acting, it was my way in, but then producing kind of became something I found myself in because of working in independent film and not having any control or needing to help. Like, everyone kind of has to get involved to get a movie made. So I started doing it, and I love it. I love it so much.
What was the kind of education process of that? Like, when, like, to be on a show like The Magicians, the luxury of like going for seasons at a time. What is like, if somebody who's wanting to appreciate and immerse themselves into the production of this stuff from all angles, what was that like being on a show for that many years and you actually get to know people? I would imagine you're talking to directors, maybe you're talking to writers. Like, how is that like a grad school kind of thing, being like an actor in that kind of situation?
Yeah, I think TV is such a great, like you said, it's an education for actors and to become filmmakers. And not every actor engages in that way, and that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. I've worked with a lot of actors, even on that show, that had no interest in the behind the scenes. But I've been making things, whether it was my web series years back, like I've been making things since I started this when I was like 17. So I've always been learning, and I've worked in every department. But on that show, I got really close with the writers and all the directors. I married the cinematographer. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I actually was, I shadowed a few of the directors over the seasons because I wanted to direct on the show. Mm-hmm. And had we done one more season, I was going to hopefully get an episode. And everybody learned a lot. I mean, I just worked with an actor in Touch Me, Jordan Gavaris, he was on Orphan Black.
Yes.
And he talks a lot, because he mostly works in TV. Mm-hmm. And he talks a lot about like how much we learned doing TV. Like, it is a factory, and it pumps you out. You have to be able to deliver 9 pages of dialogue a day and like go to bed for 6 hours, wake up, do it again. Like, it's a machine. And a lot of TV actors, when they go into film, it's jarring because you get more time. Mm-hmm. Even in indie film, like this film that I just made, Touch Me, he was like, oh wow, this is like so different than TV.
Oh yeah. And this feels like it was an intimate production.
Very intimate, yes.
Tell the folks about Touch Me. I could explain Touch Me, but I feel like I'd rather have you explain Touch Me.
Touch Me is written and directed by a wonderful filmmaker who I love and adore and has become best friends with, Addison Hyman. His first movie, Hypochondriac, is wonderful. Touch Me is, it's always so hard to put it into words. Like, other people are good at it.
It's quite the milkshake.
It's like a psychosexual horror comedy based on these 2 codependent best friends who kind of find themselves in like an arrested development stage in their life, and they're both kind of shitty millennials that like aren't getting off their butts and like getting their stuff together. And enters her ex, who is an alien, played by Lou Taylor Pucci, who's an incredible actor.
He's so fantastic.
I wanted him in the movie so bad, and I'm so happy that he did it. He made that movie, and so her ex-boyfriend is an alien, and she runs into him, and he's a rich alien, and he pretty much invites them to his compound, and craziness ensues. It's such a hard pitch. There's no elevator pitch of this movie, no log line that works, because the movie is dealing with addiction, codependency, It's trauma. It's dealing with so many issues, and I think that Addison is a very unique storyteller that he can put such. I always say it's a human film, even though it is an alien film. It's a sci-fi horror, like, but it really is about the human experience. Wrapped up in this really zany, insanely beautiful, wild ride. With some tentacle sex. So yeah.
Well, I feel like that's such a it's funny to the process of explaining because it feels like you couldn't spoil it because the way it plays out is still it's beyond what you could say about it, but also it's like, but how much do we really disclose so people can just discover the tentacle sex on their own and like the puppetry involved. But it's like, but even if I tell you, still when you watch it, it's still gonna be like, oh,
I'm learning that. This week we had all of our premieres in New York and then out here in LA. And I invited a lot of filmmakers that I know and friends of mine. And I was like, I don't want to spoil this for them. I'm just going to send them the trailer. They kind of know what it is. And then I found all of them were like, nothing could have prepared me. You could have told me everything. Like my friend Edgar Wright came to one of the last screenings and I had shown him stuff and he was like, absolutely had no idea that was what the movie was. That was wild. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I actually probably could have been spoiling the movie the whole press tour and people would still be surprised.
Well, and I think like something that you like, you know, the very human story, despite like aliens and hentai and things like that. Again, so much sold on the charisma of Lou Taylor Pucci. What a
dream.
He is such a dream. And his previous collaborations with the Rustic Films Enterprise, see Spring, if you have not seen Spring.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Also, I should tell the boys, Rustic Boys, we should do a double feature of Spring and Touch Me because they're both tentacle films. Like, yeah. What are we doing?
Outstanding.
Yeah.
But like, okay, to the, like you said, human, despite like these sensational trappings of a genre movie. And there are elements of that when I was watching the character in the movie that you have brought to discuss, which are the two leads within Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yes.
One of the modern classics of the breakup genre, the relationship human travails genre that is built within the confines of non-linear, grounded sci-fi unreality. And yet, like, micro generation after micro generation, I feel like alights upon this movie and they discover it and they're like, oh my God, I felt that so hard.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie.
Okay.
When I was trying to pick a movie for this, I was like, oh man, I love movies so much. And my two favorite films, and they're always a toss-up, is The Shining and Eternal Sunshine.
Oh.
And I relate to all the characters in both those movies for very different reasons. And I was like, well, I could do The Shining. I was like, no. So I picked this. I don't even know where I would start. I just think it's a perfect movie made with all of my perfect artists. Like my favorite artist, Michel Gondry, is like such a massive inspiration to my filmmaking career and the way my brain works. And Jim Carrey is my number one. Like I want to work with him so bad. I love him so much. But yeah, no, it's a phenomenal movie. And I feel like kids are now discovering this movie.
Yeah.
I'm finding that on TikTok and I'm so excited for them. Because
I'm so glad I'm landed on TikTok. That means they're gonna find it. Yeah. Like if it's on, that's great news.
They are finding it. Also, didn't Ariana Grande have her last album called Eternal Sunshine?
She did, yes.
Not that I'm here to plug Ariana Grande. I don't listen to her music, lovely. But I was like, hey, that's our movie. But it's finding its way back into the world.
My wife is younger. She's 25 and she like, so her friends like we hang out with, like they're around her age as well. And one of them, like when I met her, like coming out of college, she was like getting into her cinephile era and she was so excited to start like really being intentional about film. And one of the ones that she texted me just most rapturously about was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, nice.
And there is something about it where like I think it's set in New York, but it's such like it feels like a town out of time, and yet like a time you could kind of always act. It neither feels modern nor aged. It exists within our reality, but the elements of the time traveling and broken through the mind, like the palace of the mind you go into in Jim Carrey, like that is also unbound from like any signifiers of when it would have happened. And it's amazing to see how like in 2004, when we were finding this movie, or like in the mid 2000s, and it's like, wow, this broke my brain. People finding it now are doing the same thing. It still feels without almost precedent.
I watch it several times every year. Like it is my favorite film. And it's where I go to feel grounded and like home. It's home to me, that movie. I remember, and when it came out, I saw it and it rocked me. I mean, it's just for so many reasons, but I remember at the time I had already moved to LA and I was back home visiting my family, and I was driving my old brown, like 1985 Buick to like go to town, and I had just bought a cassette of the soundtrack.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my car only had a cassette player.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know how I found a cassette of it. And I would just drive around and listen to it and dream of being in a movie like that one day. And I actually got married to one of the songs. I walked down the aisle. Well, I didn't walk down an aisle. I got married on a hilltop in Iceland. By just a few of us. So
Stunning.
I walked down some rocky mountains to one of the songs in the score of this film. So like it really affected me at such a young age, and I've been obsessed with it ever since.
What was it about it? Like when you first saw it, what was that feeling?
I think it's something I will always be unpacking. I think for me, one of the things is I suffer from something called dream reality confusion. So I have a lot of sleep disorder type stuff. I have night terrors and dream reality confusion where I can confuse something I have dreamt with real life. I do it all the time. Yesterday, I spent all day waiting to hear a response of an important email. And I was like, when are they going to get back to me? And then I realized at the end of the day, oh yeah, I dreamt I sent it. I never sent it.
Wow.
That happens to me all the time. It's actually a script I'm working on right now has to do with dream reality confusion. And so it was something as a child I struggled with. I have ADHD, and so the way my brain works is kind of all over the place. So when I watched the movie, it was the first time I think I saw something visually that felt like my experience.
Oh, wow.
Maybe not as extreme as everything, but between my ADHD and my imagination and the flow between reality and the dream world for me, I just felt seen. And I just felt like, oh, people can make art like that. It just like cracked open in my brain, like mixing genres and what we actually see on the screen doesn't have to be explained, and visually and like auditorily. I was just so profound. And then the characters, I mean, I told you guys I picked both of them, Joel and Clementine, because Joel, I was extremely introverted as a child, and I still am, but I've had to like force myself to be a human. But I dropped out of school in 7th grade because I had such bad social anxiety, and my OCD was really bad. And Joel is like kind of how I feel, how I want to be. I want to be very introverted. I don't need to talk to anybody. I feel, it's all very internal. And then Clementine is the other side of me that comes out, which is extremely extroverted and wild and impulsive. Yeah. And I feel like they're just a marrying of the two sides of my brain. And every time I watch it, I just feel so seen by both of them. I wanted to be her so bad when I saw this movie. And I was always like made fun of. I was a weird kid. I dressed weird. I said weird things. I don't know. And then I saw this, I was like, oh, but an adult can be that way too and still be like stunning and cool. She's still iconic. Be Kate Winslet, Still be Kate Winslet. Yeah, it's not even just the heartbreak of it all. Like, this movie has gone through almost all of my, heartbreaks, and it's still something I go back to. Is like, oh yeah, would that be the thing? Would I want to do that to my brain? Would I want to erase it? I wouldn't. But for me, it's more just the world that they live in, that Michelle created in this movie. Yeah. And these characters, more than even what the movie's about, if that makes sense.
Well, even just like things that have come up in like things that you've done that we've come up in this conversation so far of like, I feel like that kind of thread of like dream reality, like I feel like that extends to, like Touch Me feels like a movie that exists within like that kind of space of like these characters live within a space where do they want to live in the dream? Do they want to live in the reality? Which is which, like getting lost within, because the thing about this alien is like his touch like absolves you of anxiety, of your sadness. It's like a drug. It's I would imagine it's like probably filling yourself with something powerful like heroin. Like all of the badness goes away, and so they become addicted to this man. And then thinking of too of like She Dies Tomorrow, and like that movie feels like the way that Amy Simon's made that is a movie that sort of like slips, it feels like, into in between dream and reality. And is that something recurs in work that you find that you were drawn to? Like it feels like I'm seeing that it does, but
yes. It doesn't mean I always find it.
Yeah.
Because it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm working on projects myself that I can express myself in that way and explore it. But I love things that go between reality and like not knowing what reality you're in, what timeline you're in. I mean, speaking of timelines, I mean, how many timelines were on The Magicians? Like 1 million.
Jesus, yeah.
I
was at
that.
Vulture toward like the end of The Magicians, and like I think we dedicated an entire season of television coverage to like the like fan fiction journey into like the gay romance between like that like was.
My dad was like, Liv, I gotta stop watching your show. He's like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what's going on anymore. He's like, I fall asleep. I was like, it's fine, Dad. It's fine.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. I it's just the way my brain works. And I think that, so it really speaks to me. Like, it's hard for me to write linear. Like, when I'm working on projects and thinking about projects and breaking characters down, I'm so not type A. I mean, like, I'm type B, C, D, whatever it is. Nothing is structural. Yeah. So, and that's not how my life looks. Like, it's a miracle I got dressed this morning and everything's working. But I just think that I just want to live in a world like that. Well, maybe not exactly that, but I just like that that is a possibility.
How does like your creative career factor into like the skills that you have developed? Like you're like, it's a miracle I got dressed this morning. Like you've clearly like made it into your adult life and developed at least strategies for these, like either whether it's masking or whether it's like actually like problems, like, or whether it's problem solving through like these challenges that you might have. Where does your creative career kind of like, if you were like, school is not an option for me at this young age, like this is not, it's not serving me, this is only deleterious to me. Where does the creative career fit in sort of like the process of your becoming?
Oh, man.
Like to see something like Gondry and be like, oh, something makes sense to me in the realization of my brain in this movie. And like, I just wonder how that's worked together.
I can't imagine my life without my creative side. Like I dropped out of school, like I said, in 7th grade, and I just couldn't function in that type of structure. Like I was dyslexic, the anxiety, like it just nothing was working. I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out socialization. I couldn't figure out anything. So yeah, I think as I've grown up, like masking and figuring out just society and how everything works. But really it was when I first stepped onto a set was the first time, because I was a weird homeschool kid. Like I went to the high school finally sophomore year for like 3 months, got kicked out.
Okay.
And then I moved to LA by myself at 17 to pursue this career because I knew it's what I wanted to do. I was like, you guys are telling me I'm stupid and can't do this schoolwork, but like I actually think I can go make a movie.
Yeah.
Like I knew I was very confident in what I wanted to do and who I was. And I did. And as soon as I stepped foot on a set, I had no anxiety. I knew the social structure, like I knew what everyone's job was. Everyone had their place. It's just a tiny little circus, like it's its own little community and way, its own little world. And I understood it. And to this day, like I'm 40 years old, like I'm anxious every day of my life, except for when I'm on a set. Like I'm such a workaholic. I wish I could control, like if I could be on a TV show forever, I would just be happy all the time because when I go to work, I understand it and I love it. And it's satisfying just like working a full day on a set and knowing that I have all these friends and community. I don't know if that makes sense, but I didn't know who I was until I started working in the business.
Does the compartmentalization of, because I think that's such an interesting thing about being on, like I think it's the ultimate team sport. Like everyone has the position.
Oh, I hate team sports. I ride horses
but look
solo.
Look how good you are at this one. Like everybody has their designated, is the kind of compartmentalization of how it works. While also with independent film, it being like chaotic and it's all hands on deck.
I do love that too because I like it's all a painting also. It's like everyone is like throwing their art at it. Every department, production design, costumes, lighting, everything is just like, I love watching all the artists work and try to come together and figure out how to make this thing happen. We all have a singular vision and I love that. No one's against each other on a set. It's a community where everyone is working together for one thing.
What have you found about the role of being involved at like a producer level, executive producer level? How has that sort of enhanced or changed or contrasted your understanding of like your sort of place within the environment when it becomes so many jobs? I feel like a producer is a less compartmentalized job because you become like the answer to every question that people have.
Yeah, I mean, I have my strengths and my weaknesses as a producer. Sure. Obviously, I thought I had sent an email and I had not. My favorite part of producing is I love being there for the filmmaker and trying to figure out how to execute their vision. A lot of the times I don't produce big movies. I produce small indie films with people I know most of the time.
Yeah.
And so I care deeply for them. And so, yeah, you're just kind of a catch-all.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the beginning, it's really fun to put a cast together. It's really fun to hire all the department heads. And it's, you know, it's not fun to deal with the unions and all the emails. Like, all that stuff is still hard for me. But getting to see the vision come to life and know that you were a part of every step.
Yeah.
And it's like you're in this location. You're like, wow, I'm glad that we all found this location. Like, it's just really satisfying to me. And it's why I love, you know, I love directing. I've only directed small things, but like I just like the whole picture is very satisfying to me. Acting is still my favorite thing, though.
Okay.
I hope I act. I want to be acting forever. It's still my number one, but you don't have a lot of control as an actor,
Right.
which sometimes is great. It's fun. Like on a show like Magicians, I was at the I was whatever the mercy of the writers, but luckily they were phenomenal writers, and I love the character. But like on small movies, as an actor, you don't really have a lot of control. So it's really fun when I get invited in and get to produce.
Well, I was thinking when I was watching, like thinking of watching Eternal Sunshine and thinking of it like watching Touch Me and like reading interviews with you, and they're like Joel and Clem are such opposites from one another, like you said. And a thing that recurs, like we kind of hear the speech twice from Clementine that she gives Joel right at the beginning of their relationship, where she's basically like, I'm not your manic pixie dream girl. She kind of like undercuts the notion of the manic pixie dream girl up front, being like, I'm just a girl with my own insecurities trying to find some peace of mind. Like, don't project yours onto me.
Yeah.
And I like felt like watching that, I feel like when you are in a position that you've been in with something that has such a developed such a fandom behind it as the Magicians, like you like talking about like the social anxiety and things that kind of pulled you out of like structured environments growing up that just like did not suit you at all. I would imagine you end up in a position being like Olivia Taylor Dudley of the Magicians, where people are kind of doing like that parasocial sort of expectation around you. How has that been?
Honestly, great.
Great? Oh,
yeah.
good. Thank God.
I mean, you know, I used to go to Comic-Con as a fan before I was, you know, on panels there.
Yeah.
Like, I love that world. But I mean, it's very overwhelming. Comic-Con is too many people. But I love people that are passionate about these characters and these stories. And I find the fans that we have on Magicians are just like some of the most wonderful, giving, deep, moving people. Like, I still to this, I mean, we haven't been on the air since 2019 or something like that, 2020. And I still get fan mail and things sent to me in artwork where I'm just like, wow, this was so much thought and care was put into this. And that's just what it's like to have be a part of a fandom on a genre show like that.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like, do I get anxious when I'm at events and there's a lot of them? Yeah, but that has nothing to do with them. That's just me.
Yeah.
And it is out of my comfort zone, but I love it. Like, I'm not somebody who stays in my comfort zone. Like, I feel like I push myself my entire life, and I will continue to push myself, even if it means breakdown, you know, and like I have to like reset. Like, I just did this press tour for Touch Me, and it was a lot, and I had to reset the last couple of days as much as I couldn't recharge. Like, I have to recharge.
Thank you for being
here.
Oh
no, I love this. I love this show. It's more just even like travel and like talking to a lot of people. Like, one-on-one is fine. But no, I feel really lucky to have the fans that we have. They've been very supportive, and I miss them.
Well, it feels like with your character in Touch Me, like that she feels like a sort of character who is who's not really a fit in the world at this moment that we find her in this movie. And I guess I just wanted to hear about like maybe your connection to that character or not connection to that character and having to get into the skin of it. And, you know, for the distance that you've come from having to sort of like clock out of school at a young age, and then like you arrive on a set and you realize sort of like your place in an ecosystem you'd never felt before. What is it like playing a person who seems like they're perhaps more out of sorts in how they structure themselves than you are at this present moment, but perhaps with echoes to anxieties or issues that you deal with yourself? I wanted to hear about like sort of reconciling maybe like an intimate pain that you find in this person, but like a distance from it, but a closeness. So like your Touch Me character, of course.
I relate to her so much. She actually would be, out of all the characters I played, I think she's like the one I relate to the most, other than I've never had sex with an alien that I know of.
That we know of.
That we know of. Maybe. But when I read the script, I was like, oh, wow, this is a wholly unique piece. But the characters I understand. She has obsessive compulsive disorder. And like I said, I have OCD too. That's not something that's represented in a lot in film. And I like how it's represented in this film. And anxiety and trauma. And I've been in, toxic codependent relationships. Like everything about her experience, I've been through a part of it. And Addison, the director, when we first met and I read the script and I was like, this thing's crazy. I mean, this movie's so freaking weird.
It's wild. It's
wild. And like, especially like the sex scene, I was like, I got to talk to him and like make sure we're on the same page.
Seriously.
And so I read the script. Our friend David Lawson, who's a producer on it, sent it to me and he's like, you got to read this right now because we need to cast it like tomorrow.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'll read it and then I'll meet with the director today if I like it. And then I was leaving the next day to go film a different movie. And so I read it. I laughed the whole time. I mean, the movie opens with an 8-minute monologue.
Yeah.
One take.
Yeah, you have got your Mia Goth monologue
we did that
open this movie.
That was the first take in the film that we shot. Day one.
Welcome.
Yeah, it was crazy. Anyway, so I met with him and we spent the entire time, as soon as we sat down, talking about our mental health.
Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, this is important. This is important. This movie won't be for everybody, but I think that these characters represent things that everybody will relate to. And so it was important to me. I think in the beginning of my career, I was always really scared to talk about this stuff. Like I was always wanting to present myself as being extremely on top of it and organized, because that's what I thought you needed to be, and like present like everything's okay. And then now
God, that must have been really fucking stressful.
Yeah, but I think a lot of actors, I feel like over the last few years, especially during COVID, everyone is just like a little bit more open with their struggles and who they are and mental health. And I think it's important to talk about these things and talk about anxiety. I think back like 15 years ago being interviewed, I would never say I had bad anxiety or OCD, but now I'm like, no, everybody's like that. And without that, I can't play these characters.
Yeah. It's
just a part of who I am. So I saw a lot of myself in Joey in this film. I think she's a bit more of a brat than I could be, but she's just in a different place in her life.
Shitty millennial is a perfect description.
She is. She's a shitty millennial. I realized the other night we were watching its premiere and there's a scene where Paget Brewster calls me Gen Z. And I was like, I remember it was like, oh, thank you.
Why?
I'll take it.
Say more, not less.
I think a lot of people, though, when they watch the movie, that has been the takeaways they want to talk about. There's a lot of monologues in this film about trauma and their trauma experiences. And that's what a lot of people want to talk about, more than they want to talk about the hentai. So that I was like, oh, okay, we accomplished our mission.
That is so, I mean, I like what you were saying about COVID. Like, I remember at the very beginning of lockdowns, I had like recently been laid off. It was a really bad time, obviously. And I like got on the phone with like a professional contact who I'd never spoken with before. And this was the first time we were going to meet. She said hello and I started crying.
Oh no. Yeah.
I had no problem with it. And she was like, hey, I get it. And started telling me about something that was going on with her mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? For this window in time, if we're all just vulnerable with each other and like sensitive to that, I think that's not the worst thing that could be happening right now.
I think that's a good thing that came out of it. Obviously, there's the other end of the spectrum that came out of that, and people were very insensitive to it.
Seriously?
But I do think that is something, just human connection in a different way, in a very intimate way, oddly enough, came out of it.
I'm thinking of you saying like you watch this movie multiple times a year because it's one of your favorite movies I've ever like top two. And
it's not like a fun movie to watch all the time. Just like I watch The Shining all the time, but they're just like centering for me. But every time I'm affected.
But I was thinking, like I was telling my wife when I was watching it last night that it's come up it has come up a couple times on the show. Clementine specifically is a character that's been brought up. And normally if I've watched a movie quite a few times, I don't necessarily like I'll go back and like I'll watch some clips of it, but I don't necessarily need to watch the whole thing. Anytime this comes up for conversation, I rewatch the entire thing. Yeah. Because it's like it's so fractured in how it's done that it like I have to revisit it when I'm like doing lit searches for the people that I'm interviewing, and it's like in a movie about memory, I can't rely on my memory to just simply recall it. I have to watch it beginning to end every time.
Yeah, and it's a surprise every time.
To feel like I'm ready for the conversation with the next person, because it feels like it just refracts so specifically for each individual I could be talking to.
Yeah, it's so true. I watched it again last night too, because even though I've seen it, but same. I was like, man, as much as I think I know this movie like the back of my hand, every time I watch it, I see something new. I clock something different. I can't organize it in my head what the next scene is going to be.
It's like it stays disorganized in my mind.
He did it. That's what he wanted to do, and man, he sure did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I heard something last night while I was watching it that I've never heard before. Like in the beginning of the film when he's outside the house on the beach that they end up later, or I guess before, being in, there's like a whisper of her talking, and I've never heard it before. And I've seen the movie a million times, but I had the volume up really loud, and I heard something that I'd never heard before, and I was like, wow, that's cool.
I feel like I like the next time this is gonna play in a theater sometime in LA soon because we live in
I
LA.
saw it in
We're
the
very lucky
theater
for that.
last year.
I need to watch it again in a theater to have that experience of like what even technically am I not accessing about this just on the pedestrian home video system that I have because it's so information dense.
Yeah.
I mean, and what a fascinating thing to kind of like latch onto it feels like such a perfect thing to latch onto as like a young person who's going to go into filmmaking of their own. Like it's such a case study in possibility.
Oh yeah. It's like I watched that movie and I was like, oh yeah, I could make this. But in reality, it's technically insanely hard to make that film. But it felt so free. That movie feels so like, it just feels like a free and real and textual. Like, I don't know. It didn't seem structured or hard to me. It felt like an experience that I could like deconstruct and rebuild.
How's that going?
I don't know.
See, okay, because this is the reason why I asked that, like in the way that because I say often that like the more I get to understand and the more I'm involved with like film production, that honestly the more magical it seems to me. It doesn't become demystified the more I know about it. It feels the more I know about it, the more impossible it is. Like, what do you mean this miracle of a movie existed that you guys put together? And so like I was wondering if as your career, like you become more a veteran in filmmaking and production and getting and having done more jobs and disciplines within that process, does something like Eternal Sunshine feel more possible to make, or does it feel less possible because you know more about what it takes to make something like that?
Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm going to write a Charlie Kaufman script and direct a Michelle Gondry movie.
So fair.
But
so fair.
It is always my biggest inspiration art-wise. So I think it makes it feel more possible. Like knowing how impossible that was, but now that I know technically how it all worked, and like I've seen every behind the scenes and the making of, and a lot of it didn't work. You know, he did stuff. There's a behind the scenes where the producer talks a lot about it, and he's like, we didn't think we could make any of this work, and you know what? Some of it didn't work, and it's not in the movie. Like they really went for stuff, and I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the idea of, because there's a lot of practical stuff in the movie, and I love practical. We have a lot of almost all of our effects in Touch Me are practical.
Yeah. Oh, if you can feel Touch Me, like it's such a tangible movie.
Yeah, and it's supposed to feel that way. That movie is supposed to feel kind of like a play, and some people miss that when they watch it. And we're like, no, it's theatrical. It should feel like you're watching a play. Like even some of the lighting turns off like a play in certain scenes. Yeah. And it should feel tangible, not like out of your reach. Like it should just feel real. And I think that
was an aspect of like Dead Lover, the two movies of 2025 Sundance that I said that, like just like really like became so endeared to me. Like they both they built that as a play. They built it on stages in Toronto. She worked with Friends in Experimental Clown Theater to get it worked out.
I love that shit. That is my favorite. Like it doesn't. I'm not impressed by like good CGI. That doesn't do it for me. I'm not a big like action movie girl or superheroes or anything like that. I like them, but like it's not what gets me going. Seeing somebody try to pull off a $500 monster they built because it feels real works for me. I think I have such a vivid imagination. I kind of like the leap that my imagination has to take in believing something is real versus being told it's real, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could go off forever about this stuff, but I would.
That's what we're here for.
No, I know. I just sometimes I don't know how long you've been talking. You know, you're like, wait, have I been talking an hour? Or 30
As somebody
seconds?
who can ask a question that lasts 6 minutes by itself, I completely understand. No worries for that one.
I just think it's a movie is a really big inspiration to me, so I'm always going to be pulling from it, even actor wise. Like their performances are so free and. I just am always inspired by them. Like the train scene, like he didn't know what she was going to do in that scene. Like it wasn't scripted in a way that he didn't know she was going to punch her. Not that I'm saying I'm so inspired by like punching my co-star without them knowing.
No, but what a move.
But like
you feel him. Yeah. He's so alarmed in that moment.
Yeah.
And you know that you realize that Jim Carrey was also alarmed in that moment.
I know. Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love it.
Well, when did acting start becoming a part of your life? Like, was it like when you were really young as well, like in experiencing like intense introversion and anxiety, or was that something that you moved toward? Like, how did that start appealing to you when it's like it's not like it's the most eminently extroverted thing. Like, there are plenty of introverts who are out here thriving in front of a screen. Like, I feel like we don't think of Joaquin Phoenix as like the most like bouncy out there kind of guy.
A lot of actors are introverted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when did you start tapping into this as something that was like complementary to your internal frequencies?
The first time I understood what it was, I was 5, and I watched The Exorcist.
Oh,
Was
wow.
not supposed to, but my dad was watching it with a friend upstairs, and I snuck up there, and I sat behind the couch. They didn't know I was there, and I watched the movie.
Oh, what a great way to watch that
And
movie.
I was terrified. Obviously, I was 5. I like didn't even understand what any of it was.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing Linda Blair, and then asking my dad after, and I was like, "Was that real?" And he's like, "No, it's fake."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, well, she looked like she was having fun.
Yeah.
I want to do that." Like, I know that it's weird, but like, Linda Blair was a really big inspiration to me when I was younger. I loved The Exorcist. I became
amazing.
obsessed with it, and how effective it is. And yeah, that movie is still like, it's funny that's the movie that made me want to become an actor. But like, she's phenomenal. Everyone's phenomenal in that movie. Yeah. So I kind of like from a young age wanted to do that, but I didn't do school plays. I've never been in a play.
Oh, okay.
Because that terrifies me. I'm dyslexic, so like memorizing is a really big part of I picked such a crazy career for somebody who has a hard time reading and memorizing things. But like, so I was always scared to do plays or like even try out. I tried out once for a play in elementary school. Oh, that's not true. I was in a play for like 30 seconds once in elementary school. I had like one line.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm out. I'm good. That's terrifying. But then I think when I dropped out of school in 7th grade and was homeschooling, and I was just home on our ranch hanging out with my horses and my dogs all day, I had the TV and I watched the E network a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that was on. And they always would play, I forget the name of the show now, but it was always interviewing artists, musicians, and actors, and it was like their life story. And I got obsessed with those. E True Hollywood Story.
E True Hollywood
There it
Stories.
is.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
it's The Exorcist and E True Hollywood Story is why I'm an actress. But I became obsessed with people. I get obsessed with characters, with people, who they are, their backstory, all of that stuff. I still do. All I do is watch interviews with actors. Probably watch like 3 a day.
Oh, wow.
Or anybody. I just like interviews.
Oh,
I
that's
like
interesting.
learning about people. And I think I just became obsessed with the idea of like, well, I'm going to move to Hollywood and do what they do.
Yeah.
And then I did.
Wow.
Yeah, my parents were very supportive of it, even though my parents have been so wonderful my whole life. They knew I wasn't good at school.
Oh.
And they didn't push me. Like,
That's
I'll
so
never
nice.
forget the day I was like in 7th grade and I went to the nurse and I was like, I need to leave. My parents picked me up and I said, I'm never going back. And they're like, okay. And we figured it out.
They believed you.
They believed me. Yeah. And it wasn't like I was a timid kid. I was shy, but like I was extremely stubborn and strong and strong-willed and still am. So I think they knew that I would find my place. And when I told them I wanted to be an actor and moved to LA, they were like, okay, we'll figure it out. We know you can do it, which is so wonderful. And I don't promote, like, I don't want to tell people, like, drop out of school and move to LA, because you know what? It's really hard. It was so insanely hard, and I can't believe I did it. And that was before having, like, we didn't even have, like, maps. I didn't have a GPS system.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. So, and I started working in production immediately. I got a job as a PA, and then I worked in every department. I worked on award shows. I just wanted to infiltrate the business from the ground up.
Wow.
And somehow it worked.
That's a really wonderful origin story.
Oh, thanks.
I
think about it and I'm like sweating. I'm like, that was hard. It was so hard.
I'm sure. But like, I so appreciate that, like because I feel like you hear about a lot, like the path to like a director or like an above the line job behind the camera. You hear about that kind of work, but I feel like I don't talk to many actors who are like, and then I did every job on set.
I'm so grateful I did that. It was survival. It was, I needed to pay rent. But in the end, it's what's given me my whole foundation for what I do. Mm-hmm. Working in every department taught me to appreciate every department and what everyone did. And it made me a filmmaker at a young age before I was getting hired to even be an actor. Yeah. So, I encourage actors all the time and young actors. I'm like, work it's not quite the same as it used to be, but I'm like, be a PA on something. Just
Yeah.
like go learn all the departments, you know, be told what to do all day long, but you're going to learn everything. And it actually helps your acting. Like some actors hate to hit their mark. For one thing, like they don't like to be giving to the camera. Like they're like the opposite of like trying to help the problem.
Sure.
And that's fine. That's their process, and it works for some of them. Whereas like I'm like, no, I gotta hit my mark,
Yeah.
and I'm like really good at it, and I know exactly how to turn to camera and say that line because I've worked in the camera department. I was an AC, and my husband's a cinematographer. Like I like knowing and making it all work together, and I think it came from surviving in this business for so long.
When like I was moving toward producing and stuff, so my earliest like on-set stuff was working with Dave Lawson.
Wonderful.
Doing PM work and production assistant work.
Yeah.
Dave Lawson being one of the producers of Touch Me, one of like the trio tent poles of Rustic Films with Benson and Moorhead.
Yes.
So like, and it's I wanted to hear from you too, like working in the independent sphere and like working with a company like Rustic and with like the film families it seems like you've been able to find with stuff you've been working on. Do you have like when did you start putting together your LA creative community?
Oh man.
Because I feel like
I
that's
had a few
like,
of them. My first community in LA would be, I had a web series, still do, for a really long time called 5 Second Films. And we put out a film every single day of the week that were 5 seconds long. And we did that for like, I don't remember, 8 or 9 years.
wow, that's a long time.
We were on YouTube. We were at the beginning of YouTube. So we were one of the people they experimented on with like monetizing. Didn't last long because advertisers didn't like how short our content was.
Right.
And everyone was like, short content is stupid. Don't do that.
And then Vine blew up.
Well, yeah, kind of our idea. But like, yeah, we were ahead of the curve. Unfortunately, too far ahead of the curve. But we put out films all the time and we made them. There was a small group of us and we would just shoot every Sunday. We'd make all the movies for the week. And we would have guests like Patton Oswalt is a really big supporter, Juliette Lewis, and Jack Quaid actually has revived it. He's a big fan of it. And he got us to be shooting again. And now we're shooting them all the time. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, and that was kind of where I cut my teeth in learning how to be a filmmaker and writing and jokes. I've done a lot of comedy and that kind of started there. So that was my first community. And that's like those are my people, the people that I did that series with. And then I've had so many groups like Lawson. I came through Amy, the director of that film.
Amy Simons.
Amy Simons, who's one of my good friends and a genius, absolute genius.
Incredible.
I think like she's somebody like I found her work and was like, oh, that's somebody I think. You know what I mean? I'm like, things aren't linear in her brain either. And
an actress, a director,
incredible.
like another one of those, just doing it all.
Yeah, she's such an inspiration. And she introduced me. I met him on that set, and we kind of just how it worked was I was shooting on Magicians, and one day I got wrapped early, and I was playing pool with my castmates, and I was like, I should text Amy. It just like hit me. I hadn't talked to her in like 6 months. I text her, and her response is, "Can you be in my movie tomorrow?"
I remember this. from the Q&A. You literally like flew in from set for like a day.
I literally was in like my pajamas playing pool at this place in Vancouver with Jason and Trevor, and I was like, I gotta go, guys. I literally drove to the airport, bought a ticket. Never done that. Only seen that in the movies.
I honestly didn't know
hate flying.
Could do that.
I didn't know you
still.
could do it either. And I got on a plane in my pajamas, flew, got there really late, slept for a few hours, drove to set, still in said pajamas with a jacket on and my these cowboy boots right here. And Dave opened the door and I got out and he's like, "Welcome to set." And I was like, "Great. Don't know what we're shooting.
You bet.
But if Amy calls, I show up."
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to be back on set of The Magicians in the morning. So I got to like do this. And then, but like in my head, I was like, this is so stupid. I didn't even let production know, which you have to let production know. But I literally was like, Amy is a genius and I've been dying to work with her for years. So when she calls, you go. So she looked at my outfit and she was like, "Yeah, this is great. What you're wearing is fine." And I was like, "Are you kidding? Is this literally
like
what
every moment of this is unexpected."
And then we filmed and it was all improv and I got on a plane that afternoon, flew back and was back at work the next day.
Talk about between dream and reality.
Yeah,
like,
that was
what?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mindfuck. But it is what made Dave, he was like, "You did that, I'll put you in anything."
Yep.
And then from there, we've just built a really wonderful friendship and working relationship. And I just love Justin and Aaron so much. They're just such cool people in the independent film, and they were such big supporters of our movie. And yeah, I feel really lucky to be a part of it.
Well, I guess I'm out of my time. I guess my final question to you would be with particularly with how we've talked about Eternal Sunshine and how like the difficulty of filing it in your brain just because how it exists, but like a recurring topic on the show of like the way that like even if the movie stays the same, like the way we change over time as we experiencing it. And with you like watching it so much over the years, like how do you find the evolution of experiencing the film from like when you first did and it was kind of that shock to now when it's so familiar with you all these years later?
I mean, honestly, I think I experience it fresh every time.
Wow.
I had that thought last night when I was watching it. It was like it washed over me, and it was all of a sudden done.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, I wasn't like dissecting it in the way I normally do. I wasn't trying to
Oh.
figure out how they did that shot or anything like that. I'm always experiencing it new, but I think that that's the genius of his writing.
Mm-hmm.
Is you don't know what's coming next in that movie. You never know what's going to happen next. So I think, I don't know, I wish I had some profound thing other than that's the profound thing to me is it hits me like a freight train every time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't cry as much as I used to when I watch the movie as far as heartbreak.
Okay.
But like, the older you get, heartbreak it morphs and changes. And if you're fresh out of a heartbreak, that movie is rough. That movie, you should stay away from that movie if you're fresh out of a heartbreak. But
Well, there's that line in the movie where like he's in the waiting room of Lacuna, the company doing the memory erasing, and Kirsten Dunst is the receptionist on the phone being like, getting close to Valentine's Day is our busiest time of year, and like he's sitting next to the woman with like a box of memorabilia of her dog.
oh, it's so sad.
And
It's so, maybe I'm not as sad as I used to be when I watch it. I'm more inspired by the idea of like they're soulmates. They're going to find each other again. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's a perfect film.
Thank you so much for coming on. And this
thanks
was
for having me.
I can't think of now a more perfect person to have this conversation with than somebody who's a true student of the movie and whose perhaps mind palace is reflected by the film itself. So thank you so much for sharing that with us on the show.
Thank you so much. This was lovely. I have no idea how long we've been here. I have no concept of time ever.
We're in the dream pocket.
Perfect.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.